This next section of exercises is done on the belly. And so I'm going to sit up and talk to you because if I put my face in the mat, you won't be able to hear a word that I'm saying. So we'll start with the body completely stretched out, the legs together, the feet touching, the palms down at the sides and resting on the chin. This is a variation of locust pose or Shalabhasana. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, lift your right leg. Go ahead and begin to breathe and stretch that leg far away from you and lift it. And then go ahead and lower the leg down. Take another breath in, and as you breathe out, lift the left leg up. Lift it and extend it away from you. And breathe. And then lower the leg down. Now we're going to move the hands into position above the head. So go ahead and sweep the arms along the floor and bring the palms down. Now you can turn the head so that the forehead is resting on the mat. And we're going to do an arm lift of each arm, starting with the right. So take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, lift your right arm off the mat and stretch and reach. Go ahead and breathe. Good, and lower the hand to the floor. And now the left side. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, extend the other arm. Stretch it out. And then lower the left hand to the floor. And now comes the very strenuous part. Turn the palms to face one another. In a moment, I'm going to have you lift up the legs and feet and hands and arm, and even lift the head off the mat, but the top of the head points in the direction of the fingers so that you don't lift the head. You can lift the head off the floor, but don't arch the neck. So take a deep breath in. As you exhale, lift the legs, lift the arms, and reach out. Stretch as long as you can, extending the fingers, extending the top of the head in the direction of the fingers, extending the toes. Keep reaching and extending the body long. So you hold this as long as it remains steady and relatively comfortable. And when you need to come down, you lower the hands and legs to the floor. And once you're all the way down, move the hands down by the sides, palms facing down. And then turn the palms to face up. Turn the cheek to the side and rest. And you can relax the feet by bringing the toes in and letting the heels drop out to the side. So we'll take a few breaths of relaxation. The locust pose done in this way, using the arms and legs, is very strenuous, but it strengthens the muscles along the back. Good. And now we'll move into variations of the cobra pose, Bhujangasana. We'll do 4 different variations. So to come into cobra, go ahead and lift your torso up and take your elbows underneath your shoulders. The forearms stay on the ground, parallel to one another. Spread the fingers wide so you have a good foundation with the hands. And now the pose from here is very simple. Take a breath in, and then press in with the elbows, press in with the forearms, and lift the chest. Open the chest, broaden it, and look straight ahead. So this variation I refer to as the Sphinx pose. Now there's a helpful variation in this pose, and that is to lift the feet off the floor, bend the knees, and lift the feet up to the ceiling. And this is beneficial for anyone suffering from sciatica, the nerve that runs down the back of the leg that sometimes is stretched tight. And in this position, the legs relax, and the nerve is not stretched so tight. You can soften the upper body if you hold this pose for a long time. But go ahead and straighten out the legs now. And bring the hands underneath the shoulders. Elbows press into the body. So with the hands underneath the shoulders, we're going to leave the hands in this position without exerting any downward pressure on the hands. So take a deep breath in, and on the exhalation, lift the shoulders and head without putting weight on the hands, just using the strength of the back muscles alone. And then you begin to breathe. Legs are together, feet touching. And then go ahead and release, bringing the forehead to the floor, feeling the stretch that comes into the back of the neck. Move the hands back a couple inches towards the chest. And this time we will use pressure on the hands. So go ahead and take a breath in. And as you exhale, lift the shoulders. And then press in with the hands, lifting the back up as much as is comfortable for you. Holding the pose and breathing. Now there's a tendency here to let the shoulders come up by the ears. You want to pull the shoulders down and stretch the ears as far away from the shoulders as possible. Again, you hold this to your capacity. You may be ready to come down right away, or you may be able to hold it for a couple more breaths. But when the pose is no longer comfortable or steady, slowly release it. Bring the forehead all the way to the floor, feeling the stretch in the back of the neck. And then stretch out the arms, palms facing up at the sides. Turn the cheek to one side and rest. And you can rest the legs as well, letting the toes turn in and the ankles out, heels out. So this fourth variation we're about to do is an excellent pose for working the upper part of the back and pulling the shoulders back and getting a nice backward bend in that part, which tends to round forward as we age. So to come into this pose, you bring the legs together, bring the feet together, and clasp one hand in the other. Take the hand around the wrist, or if that's uncomfortable, you can interlace the fingers. If you can't reach, you can take a strap or a towel to hold in both hands. Bring the forehead to the mat or to the floor. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, pull the arms back, straighten the arms, stretch them back, and allow that pressure to lift the shoulders off the mat and to hold and breathe. Hold the pose and let the breath be moving. And in this pose, we really work on this part of the back. Again, when you feel the pose is no longer steady or comfortable, slowly release forward, bringing your head to the mat, forehead down. Then release the hands, take the arms at the sides, palms facing up, and turn the cheek to the side to rest. Each time you rest the head, you may want to alternate one cheek or the other to give an even stretch to the neck as you lay one cheek or the other against the mat. Oftentimes after doing cobra pose or locust pose, there's some tightness that comes into the lower back, and we'll relieve that with a forward bend. So go ahead and take your hands underneath your shoulders, push up to hands and knees. Separate the knees a little bit, and then very slowly stretch the hips back to the heels, feeling that lower back stretch. You can lower the head and stretch the arms forward. And we'll come into another variation of this pose. Walk your hands back. Bring your torso upright. And now bring your knees together. And now with the knees together, fold the torso on the knees. Head down to the floor if possible. And take the arms back by the feet, palms facing up. This is called Child's Pose, Balasana. It's a pose that's soothing and calming to the nervous system. So if you were to hold this pose, if you physically could hold it for over a minute, you would find a change in just how you experience a quieting of the mind. So go ahead and slowly bring yourself to an upright position. And then move yourself off your heels and just come into a comfortable seated position. And that brings us to the end of this section of locust and cobra poses.